Hello and welcome to Prestige Worldwide. For today we have a Sata versus Gearwrench showdown. So I've got a 3/8 drive 90 tooth Gearwrench ratchet. I have some of my Gearwrench 3/8 drive sockets. And I have a Sata 46 piece socket set. There's the model number. These are available on Amazon. I purchased this set a few months ago. I think it was maybe around Christmas, and it was only like 35, 36 bucks. Now they're selling for 53. These are 6-point sets, 3/8 drive. I guess a few of them are quarter drive, and there is an adapter, step down adapter from 3/8 to quarter. Really cool set. Sata and Gearwrench are owned by the same company. It is Apex Tool Group. They also make Crescent tools and probably some other smaller brands out of Taiwan. There's some obvious similarities between the Sata and the Gearwrench. You notice this taper right here, sort of the similarities between the two heads, the thickness of the two heads. Let's go ahead and take some measurements here. 12.3 millimeters thick on the 3/8 drive Sata ratchet, and 12.3 millimeters thick on the Gearwrench. Kind of funny how that works out. And then let's just see with the, let's get a good angle here. 11.9, 11.8 on this ratchet shaft. Okay, maybe a little thinner on the Sata, give or take. Pretty close. The handles also have a similar taper. This little choil grip here, similar on both the Sata and the Gearwrench. The tail end, butt end of these ratchets are very similar. I'm pretty sure these are made essentially in the same factory in Taiwan. The Gearwrench 3/8 ratchet goes for, I don't know, 40 bucks. This one is about 14. So for about 1/3 of the price. So this is a 72 tooth. It does have a quick release, which is good at times. Other times you may want full strength. So it does take away a little bit of anvil strength because they have this little pusher that comes out. So the anvil is actually sort of hollow all the way to the end there, which takes away a little bit of the strength. If you put these side by side and put like 120, 150 foot-pounds of torque on them, the anvil would probably break first on the Sata, but that's mainly because of the design with the quick release. I don't think Sata has a non-quick release 3/8 drive comfort grip ratchet currently. All right, let's look at some of the sockets. I've got a 19 millimeter Gearwrench. I keep my Gearwrench sockets in my toolbox. Did a video tour of the toolbox a couple weeks ago, and got these nice magnetic trays. So I'm not going to worry too much about the deep Gearwrench because I don't have deep Sata to compare to, but I do have a 19 mil shallow Gearwrench and a 19 mil shallow Sata. So they are a little bit different on the length. They have similar knurling here. The contours down to the square drive are fairly similar. The Sata has like a different profile down here. They're both 6-point, and they have the corners, the rounded corners, so that way it grips on the flat edge of your nuts and bolts instead of on the corners. The kind of deeper part of these, the Sata seems to be a little deeper than the Gearwrench, and they have very similar tooling angles. It's almost like the CNC machine is at the same factory and they just have slightly different settings. The setting for the inside of the sockets is generally the same, at least the taper of these 6 facets, the angle down to the square drive, and there are some differences. Let's take a couple of measurements. This is the Sata 19 mil, and it's hard to get an exact measurement straight across, but it's like 19.1. The Gearwrench 19 mil, give or take the same. One measurement, which is just to compare these two, would be just going at an angle, going that diagonally across. 22.1 on the Gearwrench and 22.1 on the Sata. On the length, we've got 28 mil or 1.11 inches on the Sata. Gearwrench is a little less, 0.99 and 20.1 on the length of the socket. Let's see if the SAEs, so here's a 7/8, 3/8 drive Sata. Okay, now these two, 7/8 Gearwrench, 6-point, 7/8 Sata, SAE, these look exactly the same height. Let's go ahead and measure that. We've got, let's go in millimeters since these are metric sockets. Should measure them in millimeters, right? 23 millimeters. Okay, slightly different there on the depth of these, but it is, holding them in hand, it's really hard to tell any type of difference there. Let's check the width, 24.8 and 24.8. Let's do 7/8. Okay, that, if that is 7/8 of an inch, I'm not sure if these calipers, maybe I'm not measuring properly here. All right, well, let's just go diagonally again, see what we got. 20.7. Okay, pretty close, about 1/10 of a millimeter, 1/10 of a millimeter different, but they're very similar. Hard to tell them apart. So I think for the price, now I have used Gearwrench on fasteners. I was helping a friend of mine do a ball bearing on I think it was a GMC truck, Chevy GMC, whatever. And there was I forget what size it was. I've got another Gearwrench set that has, I think, up to 22. And the Gearwrench, I had it originally brought out, I think it was like a cobalt socket, and it wanted to strip. So I'm like, all right, let me grab my Gearwrench socket. And the Gearwrench was a much tighter fit onto the bolt. And I was able to, with a breaker bar, get it off with a Gearwrench socket, and the cobalt was unable to do that. All right, so I think these Satas are definitely a good deal. It's a convenient case. It's about maybe 1.5 inches thick here. 1.73 inches thick. 11 inches wide. 7 inches deep. It's a case you can just kind of throw in the back of your truck, throw in your, you know, Milwaukee pack out box, and just have some sockets, you know, just to have in case you run into something where there's a bolt or a nut that needs to be removed. Okay, well, thanks for watching the Sata versus Gearwrench Showdown. Thanks, bye.